Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. I hope you enjoy.
Story number 1. Titans, written by Maurice Stett. The Intergalactic Cooperative Defense League, commonly shortened to Incadel, was fairly young on the universal stage. Created by the noble Karatla, the first race to discover polaric gravity interface travel. The League's choice of FTL method. Incadel was the primary state holding sovereignty over the Milky Way and Andromeda galaxies. With 730,000 systems and 2,316 member races with a quite literally uncountable population, mostly due to the 30% of races classifying as hive minds, Incadel is magnificent for age. This is the story of the first war they ever fought. Read closely. Incadel was famous on the universal stage for a variety of goods, art, and technologies pioneered by the member races, along with a massive cultural export in the form of their ingenious system of government. With no small margin, the most numerous races were Karatla at 30%, the Zenyatta 23%, and the one-mind Kurelti 15%. And with the exception of the Kurelti, as they went through 2 generations of workers a week, this was in order of age. The Karatla were known for their scientific might, standing at a gargantuan average of 42 centimeters in height. The Zenyatta were renowned artists, a respectable 35 centimeters on average. The Kurelti's largest worker form was around 7 centimeters in length, and they were the most efficient workforce known to date. But there remained rumors within the races of the universe, rumors of titans hailing from fringe worlds in the greatest darkness. These titans were said to stand nearly 2 full meters tall, could withstand the harsh environments of terrestrial, rocky planets, as opposed to the gas giant moons, and if word of mouth was to be believed, could lift up to 100 kilograms. Most dismissed these titans as propaganda, so that the big 3 could fend off dissent. The idea that any race with just 10 of their members could lift a ton was simply preposterous. These rumors should have been a warning, though, for the Karnaxi Imperium. The Imperium had been rapidly expanding, nearly 100 galaxies under their fold. Incadel remained a strategic target for a less advanced, though large empire. Andromeda did not survive the assault. The passionate defense of the galaxy, a story for another day, perhaps. But the Imperium was not prepared for the next target. The general theme of the offense is best known by the following log. Opening log, Captain Zyjoncha of the 38th Star Brigade of the Karatla on the defense of Imperium.
When I was initially assigned to the 38th, I was concerned. Our transport ship, which should have been around 1 kilometer long to support the brigade, was closer to 100 kilometers at the beam. I had pondered the necessity of doing so unimaginably large. Why would we dedicate the resources, and for what possible reason would we create such a behemoth? Then I saw them. The Titans, or humans as they called themselves, were truly something to behold. Mammals. Humans were the only instance of a sapient species of megafauna, Earth being the only Gaia world in Incadel space. The Karatla had long since solved natural mortality by the time their discovery, but their gargantuan size had afforded them long lives before then, and in them exists a majesty that's difficult to describe. In an effort to assimilate the Titans into my command, I assigned the eldest of them, Sergeant James William Dorr, to my personal command. He was 283 standard cycles old, 25 human years, which was apparently rather young for a human, but barely reaching mental maturity. On our first deployment, garrisoning the Forward World Imperium, a brutal Deathworld not unlike Dorr's home, though only a Class 2 as opposed to Earth Gaia's 13 designation. The gravity of 3.6 meters per second squared made most of the squad uncomfortable, but Sergeant Dorr laughed uproariously as he bounded across the plains when off duty. His very steps shook the ground near us. Most of the battalion resented this. When the Imperium landed, the resentment died. The Imperium weapons did virtually nothing to Dor's personal shields and armor. It took coordinated artillery strikes to break the shield, and it took thousands of rifles to cause any real damage. Dor's rifle, a heavy coil repeater, had a similar effect on the enemy as one of our warship batteries would have. When Dor ran out of ammo, he simply charged the enemy and punched through their cover. His mass and enhancement suit enough to crush even the strongest shields and armor. Enemy vehicles were crushed in his palms, entire emplacements flattened under his boot, and when he finally started to become overwhelmed, when they started to resort to orbital bombardment and our position became overrun, I assumed that we were doomed. But we were not. In an act of defiance against the gods, he told the entire battalion to cluster together, to grab onto each other tightly, and fit inside his locker, a locker that could fit several of our group transports with ease. In the end, he simply lifted the locker with all of his comrades inside, left the now damaged beyond repair enhancement suit behind, our remaining footstalls, and his sword strung across his back. He ran. Across fields, through forests, over the rivers and hills he ran. 40 kilometers ran that day, 50 the next. He just kept running. Eventually, he found a cave, one large enough for him to sleep, and he set up camp. When finally he rested, his battalion wept for him, for his saving them all. The next day, when he awoke, he asked us to stay at the cave and prepare a defense, and he went forth into the forest. Night after night he'd return with wood and food, more than enough for us all. With the sheer amount of resources he could gather for us, we quickly created a settlement, then a fortress. Eventually, he started coming back with more and more groups of our soldiers he found across the world, being gone for days at a time when he did so. And the others had similar stories of their humans, though many of theirs had died getting them to safety. Not as well trained for the wilderness as Sergeant Dor. Under the support of a single man, we grew a resistance, and when the Imperium finally descended upon us, Dor made his last stand. In that final battle, Dor pulled aircraft down from the sky. His sword went through enemy assault lines like plasma through paper. His bare skin took every fire like it was merely an inconvenience. That battle lasted 3 days of him retreating to the trees, 3 days of enemy suffering as Incadal reinforcements made their way to us. And the 3rd day, though, disaster struck. The cave, our shelter, began to falter. The great cavern began to crumble. But Dor would not see us doomed. He stood in the cave as it collapsed, taking the weight, allowing us time to leave as it crumbled around him. When I turned back to face him one last time, nearly 300 kilograms of rock already on his back, he saluted me and said his last words. It was an honor to serve. We had to leave Imperium. Every human soldier stationed had died in its defense. But we ended that battle with a kill ratio of 130,000 to 1. 1 man for 130,000. My first son was named Zai-Tar Dor in his honor. My good friend Tai Lok Fa named her daughter Tai Fa Warren in honor of Lieutenant Diana Warren, who single-handedly eliminated an Imperium fleet with a plasma rifle and a hastily constructed HFY suit. Make no mistake, any individual who might read this war was won on the blood of Titans, and we must never forget that. End log. Many in Incadal space, like the captain, attribute our victory to humanity. I am inclined to agree with them. In this history, you will come to agree with me as well. End of story. Story number 2. A perfect solution, written by the missing Think. This is not war. A war has at least 2 participants, and right now these invaders barely register our existence, the general shouted. In all the times we have been fighting them, we've drawn blood once. His voice became grim. I don't need to remind you the cost of that victory, the lives sacrificed, the equipment destroyed. That's why you'll all have been brought here,
Scientists, engineers, creative thinkers. We need something, anything to make them notice us. Maybe then they'll accept our surrender, stop the slaughter, and leave us the hell alone. You've been assigned groups. Talk to each other and find us something we can use. No ideas will be dismissed, so get to work.
The lecture hall broke out into a confused babble as the 100 delegates talked to and sometimes over each other. A few groups headed to the whiteboards that had been prepared, some rapidly filling them with arcane symbols of advanced science, others with seemingly nonsensical words and phrases that nevertheless captured the thoughts of the particular group. As the hours passed, the noise level slowly dropped as each group was forced to discard their theories, as they proved unworkable or simply impossible. Eventually, there was a single group still working, their board surrounded by everyone else in attendance, making comments and throwing out suggestions. Their growing excitement and enthusiasm became steadily more pronounced. "Sir, I think we have something," the group's spokesman finally called out. "We'll need to run some tests, of course, but this theory and design are sound."
"Well, out with it. What is your grand idea to save the human race?"
the general replied, the harshness tinged with the barest beginnings of hope. "A virus, sir, but very special virus. We believe that we can make the invaders think that we're, cute." The spokesman's embarrassment was palpable.
"Cute! Cute!" the general roared. "What good would it be if they think that we're cute?"
"Well, sir, what do you think about cats?"
End of story. I would quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and Patreons. Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Barky, Lord Azrakal, It's Difficult to Pronounce, Dragzoon WRE, Holly's Sister, Arcadian. Thank you very much.